The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey there, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us on another ConnectSMART weekly webinar. Today's topic is the Snap Reporting Designer, and I've got Gail Vaughn here, our reporting guru, who will go ahead and give you a quick run through of using the Snap Report Designer. Gail, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jen. I would like to start with just giving you a quick overview of what we will be covering today. We're going to start with a brand new report, start clean. There will be credentials that you should have when you were set up for reporting. If you don't have those, at the end of the webinar, there'll be a link and a couple websites there that you can look on the help desk, which will help you get those credentials and figure out what yours are. We're going to also take a quick look at the tables and the views and the fields that are available for you to use in our CMDB. We're going to take a quick look at a simple query if you want to start learning how to write your own, and how to use the applications query builder to make it easier for you. We're going to set up some content, set up a table, look at a chart, and that pretty much should take up our time for today. I'm going to limit what we go over because there is so much available to you. So this is a look at what our finished product should look like or similar to. Notice we have a title. This would be a recurring title, just like in Microsoft Word or whatever. Here's our chart, and we've done a quick table here to show our data that we're going to be querying. So let's get started. I have opened up the Snap Report Designer here, and to do so, you should be able to go to your Start menu and just type in the word Snap, and you should be able to find one in the list that comes up from there called ConnectSMART Snap Designer. Again, if you do not find it on your system, it could be that it was installed on another machine, or you need to download it. Again, that will be in that last slide, which we'll look at the end of the webinar. So we have a blank screen. The Snap Designer, which is the last version of the designer, is very Word styled. What you see is what you get oriented. So we start out with a clean page, and we're going to have to do our connection to our database and decide what kind of data we want to look at. So you will start with the new data source, and the name that it requests here doesn't really matter, so I normally just leave it at the default value here. Now, this, again, those credentials you should have supplied to you, or again, on that last slide, we'll tell you how to go find that information for yourself. But you will need to go to the MySQL, because that is what the CMDB is using. And we use a tool called Heidi for the management if you want to peek right into the data directly. Notice that we also have quite a few other options available so that you could use this product to also connect to other databases. If you want to go directly to your ConnectWise, you'd use the top one, which is the Microsoft SQL Server. You can also go to some of the Access if you're familiar with that. Even does Pervasive, has SQL Lite, so a lot of options here for you. The server name is going to be io.connectsmart.com, and the username and password are those that you will supply. And then once you supply those, you'll use the drop down and pick the ConnectSMART one that will show down below. I'm going to take this off screen because obviously I don't want you to see the ones that we're going to be using. Just give me a moment and I'll be right back with you. Once it loads the data, you will be seeing this screen. This is the next screen that you will see. And as you can see, there's quite a few tables and views that are available to you. Now, just a quick overview about the difference between and our naming conventions that we've used here. Notice we have some that are prefaced with CW, that is for ConnectWise. You'll see some that we have are GR. Those will not be available to you. Those are some in-house, since this is an in-house user, that is a specific product that we use. You will see if you are LabTech, LT ones, and those we are building out at the moment, and there's some of the more commonly used LabTech ones here, client. This one right here, the CW client mapping, will do the translation between the ConnectWise client number and the LabTech client number. And then you'll see a bunch of them that have V in the front. Those are views versus these others, which were tables. And notice we have matches to many of those that were up there for the ConnectWise, like the ConnectWise view for agreements. We also had a ConnectWise straight agreement table at the top. We encourage you always to use, if possible, if the values that you can, your data that you need is in the view, to use a view in your reporting. Now, the reason for that is that when we pull in data, ConnectWise often will update their tables. They'll change a name, they'll retire a field, they'll add in a new field, and that will cause your existing reports, if you've used those, to not work anymore. What we will do in the views is we'll translate those, and the views will be much more stable as far as the field names, field values, etc. We'll make up the difference in these for you. As you'll see, there's quite a few. We have company, we have tickets, we have invoices, members, the calendar, service tickets, there's time, projects, opportunities. So quite a few of the heaviest used items will be found here. Today we are going to be working using this table right here. You will not find this in your data store because we have made the data anonymous for protection, obviously, of the data that we're using. So you'll see that when we actually bring up the data that the names of the companies, etc., have been changed. So this will be very much like the regular view for CW tickets. The only thing is, again, is we have changed the data. Now, you could actually stop at this point and say finish, and all the data that is available on this table will be accessible to you, and in this right-hand column here, you will see the field names available for your use in the report. However, we want to narrow down that since tickets usually are your biggest table. We want to narrow it down a bit and only pick those things that you're actually going to be using and narrow down the time span or the company or the type or the board or something to narrow down the data, have a smaller data set brought in, which will always help with the speed of the report. So what we're going to do is take a look here, open the Query Designer after we finish this wizard. And as you'll see here, we get our next Query Designer screen. A lot going on here, so let me break it down for you a little bit. Here is another list of those that we just looked at, and we did select this table, this view, excuse me. As you see, every field that's available in that view has been brought in and is checked off. Over here, you'll see the actual query that has been generated by these being checked off. If I uncheck this, you'll see the query has changed from, we're going to select the first one from this table. And obviously that's not exactly what we want. Just click off the ones you want and it will build your query for you. Now I want to take a minute here just to take a look at some of these columns or fields here, just to give you a feel for what you'll generally see in most of the tables and views. Ticket number, obviously, is your ticket number. In some of the other tables or views, you might see it identified as ID or as SR underscore service underscore rec ID. If you're familiar with the ConnectWise naming conventions, that'll be pretty familiar for you. Obviously, location, business group, board names. Urgency sometimes is called priority. Let's see. Source, status description, all that should be pretty familiar to you. Closed flag. That one is very interesting. It is a flag, and anytime you have a flag, it will either be a 0 or a 1. 0 being false, 1 being true. So if you want to do a little filter on this, if you want only the closed items, then you'll set it to true or set it equal to 1. Let's take a look at this, the next set. You'll see closed by, the service types, your subtypes. Here's your company name. This is the rec ID, which is used in a lot of the fields to, instead of putting the name in, they put the rec ID in there. Contact name and information. And I want to get down to go through, let's see here. Team name, there's a team name here. That is the team that's on the right-hand column in your ticket. We have some hours fields, which are quite useful. We have the actual hours, budgeted hours, billable hours, non-billable, those that were invoiced. So these fields are quite useful. This field right here, another interesting field, is the parent field. There is a proper way to determine whether a ticket is a child ticket or a parent ticket. The proper way is to make sure that the parent field of the ticket has a ticket number in it that points to who its parent is. If you have set your status field to child or child ticket, it is not necessarily a true child ticket unless the parent field has been updated with its parent ID. So keep that in mind. I'll show you that a little bit later when we get to our table. Okay, date fields. Notice there's several for each. We have a resolved UTC and a resolved local. ConnectWise in one of their later releases has gone to this, so we have made the translation for you so that you can use the local one to put the time in your local time without having to do the addition or subtraction there for you. So we also have some of those minutes, resolved minutes, res plan minutes, the SLA values here for you. And that pretty much covers the one. Resources are those that are assigned to the ticket. Pretty much all that I want to cover at this point. Now, I've kind of randomly selected some, and you'll notice they're sitting here and they're in your select table. You can change the name of these, and that will affect the automatic column headings or names that are put on. Let's say we don't want it to say ticket NBR, but we want it to say ticket number. Notice when I do that, it has changed it, which is a little hard to see. Let me open this up. And you'll see it has aliased that for you. It's taken that ticket number and said, all right, we want to call it ticket number. So you can do that also. Now, what I'm going to do today is actually change this via another way. We are not going to go over these at this point. That's for maybe another webinar. But we are going to allow SQL editing. I'm going to check this box. And notice it drops me specifically into the editor here. And I have created a select statement already, which I want to go over with you. Okay, I have a slide on this later on the simple syntax that to start out with. Obviously, SQL queries can get very complicated, but we've kept this one pretty simple. Notice I've selected, and here's my view, and there's my field, ticket number. Notice I did change its name to ticket number. I've picked company, the actual hours, resources, closed flag. I've picked several fields that we're going to be looking at. Then the next part of a select statement will have the from, what the view name is. And then I've put in some filtering criteria. Notice and let me fix that so that's a little bit easier to see in one line. And I want that the date entered was within the last 14 days. Again, this is on one of the slides which will be posted after the webinar, so you can pick up this syntax if you want to use it. And this is going to pick up things that have happened in the last 14 days. I only want open tickets, so the closed flag will be false. And I'm only going to pick up tickets that are on my help desk board. And I want them to come back to me in this sort order by ticket number. So once that has been set, and again, you could have done that in the previous panel, but if you are competent and feel like you want to explore, you can actually do this in your MySQL Management Studio, which, as I said, we use Heidi. You can use whichever one you want. Write your query, test it there, and then paste it in here. Okay, now we have set up our data, and notice there's the data source 1, which I said it didn't really matter. Here's all the fields that we've picked, and here's our blank screen. Again, this is very much like Word, so we're going to start out by putting a title on our report. Going to go to the Home tab, and notice all this should look very much like Word for you. So I'm going to change my font here to Arial. And since this is going to be my report title, I'm going to make it fairly large. I'm going to center it. And what did we call this? Open ticket information. And then I'm going to unset everything, put everything back to normal. And on this one, I want it to stand out, so I'm going to go in here and put just a background color in there. And I'm going to skip some spaces because in the sample that I showed you, I had a chart in here. So I'm going to leave a space for that, and I'm going to work on the table first. So to add a table, it's quite simple. I'm going to go over where my available fields are, and in the order that I want them to show in my table, I'm going to click and select them. So I'm going to hold the Control key down and select the ticket number, the company, the date entered, and I want the local one instead of the UTC one, the hours, and let's see, resource, and let's see, the status right there. So I'm going to use my mouse button here, and I'm going to drag it over, hopefully. And it should be changing to a plus button. There we go, my plus button. And there is, actually it got all of them instead of the ones I clicked on. So easy enough. We can try that again. Company, entered day, actual hours, resource, status, and there we go. All right, now notice we have it magically do our headings for us, has all of our information for us. And let's just take and clean this up a little bit. I can add or delete columns, but let's start with just cleaning up some of this information right here. This is, we can type right in just like you would in Word. Let's clean this up a little bit. And let's see here. Now, if you want to format a particular field, you can click on that field in here and notice what happened up above. We now have a Properties tab available to us, and I can go into my format string and I can pick the format that I want. Notice it's changed it. Just click anywhere down that row and it'll affect the whole column there for you. Now, let's also try, let's go over to Appearance. Now, I have started with some blues here, so let's just pick this one. And notice it will format and in any of these colors. You also have some choices down below too there. And a nice quick way to pretty it up. And what else can we do here to make it look nice? We can, let's do a filter here. let's go back to field. Notice I have a quick filter available here. So let's click on the resource field in the table. And notice my quick filter here now shows all the values that are available. Notice that are here are now here. So let's just pick me and say, oh, notice now I have just my values are showing here. But for this report, I want all, but just to show you that we could have done this. Now notice I don't have the quick filter anymore until I click right on that one. But I do want to actually change this back. So let me go back over to list, and now notice we have a regular filter versus a quick filter. This is another way to do a filter. And notice it shows that one that I just made right here. And I'm going to eliminate that one, say OK, and now I have all my values back in again. Another item on this list tab here is this field right here, which I'm going to caution you to use very carefully. It's the editor row limit. While you're in this, what you see kind of editor designer mode here, if you get too many values here, that is going to slow down your processing immensely. So I would recommend leaving it at 20, or if you want to drop it down to less, you can, but don't put it into unlimited or anything like that, because it'll slow down your design time here. All right, one other thing I want to show you here is if you right-click, I'm right-clicking on the status because I actually want to group by that field. But notice the other things you have available here. You can delete columns, you can add in columns. Notice you can delete ones also. So, but I want to start by grouping by the status field. And notice, again, very simple to do. You are now grouped by status. We have our child tickets and account, then completed, et cetera, and the one thing I want to add in here, I think I want to add another column. Let's see here. Let me go. Let's see here. Let's insert to the right here. I've inserted a column. Let's take a look here. I'm going to drag that value in here and then click down. Now notice we talked earlier about child tickets and status. Notice here's a prime example. We have child tickets without a parent ID because I pulled the parent field in over here. Didn't forget here. Let me label it for you. So this would be worth investigating. Why is this a child ticket when it has no parent that it's pointed to? Now, also, since we already have status over here, I really don't want it here, so I can right-click on that, and I can delete, and I want to delete that whole column, and it is gone. So, quick way to work with a listing. All right. Now, there's two other things I would like to show you fairly quickly here, and that is a page header. So if you go over to the Insert tab right here, you'll see things that you can insert. We will be doing a chart in just a moment, but first I want to do the header. So just like Word, it opened up the little header section right here. I can put my header on here. And I'm going to do page. And let's see here, back to insert, page the number, and of page number. There we go. And then just click to get out, just like in Word. Okay. Now let's take a quick look at charting. So I've left a space here for chart. I will position my cursor where I want the chart to be. Click on chart. And notice it drops in a little template for you to work on. I'm going to size it. Your arguments are your x-axis, your values are your y-axis here. And I'm going to do that quick one that you probably don't remember what it looked like in our sample. But I'm going to do status as my argument. And again, I'm just dragging it and dropping it. And then I'm going to do my ticket number over here, right there. And notice we have a quick chart already done for you. However, this is not exactly what I was hoping for. Notice it is ticket numbers, because I dropped the ticket number. I actually wanted a count of how many tickets were in each status. So I will go over here and run the chart wizard, which I found this chart wizard very nice to use. It's one of the better ones I've seen. And notice you can change what the chart type looks like. There is just a lot of choices here. All the normal, your pies, your donuts, your lines, etc. You can change your appearance. You have choices in colors and palettes that you can pick. But we are going to drop into our data because we have picked those two, and I'm going to go over to this series binding. And notice, here's my argument. Remember, I dragged and dropped it. You could have picked it from here if you wanted. Notice my drop down has all my available fields. And then I picked the ticket number for the value. However, again, I want a count of the number of items in each grouping. So I'm going to pick the summary function, use the ellipses to pick a count, and say OK. And let's just finish this real quick so you can see what that looks like. And now notice I have a count of each of them that are in each grouping. Let's go ahead and get rid of our legend since it really doesn't make sense. So again, back into the wizard. And notice you have a legend page here, which will just make that invisible. Let's add some point labels too, just to make it easier. And notice we now have point labels. Let's go to the axis here. And I'm going down to my labels. And here is, notice how my labels are horizontal. I want to make those at an angle. And I happen to like a -45. I like them angled this way. So I'm going to put that in there. And one last thing we're going to do very quickly, we're going to add a title. And this is, what did we call this? Let's see, status, ticket, accounts. And again, you have a lot of choices here. You can move this around if you wanted. We're going to make that near. You can change the font size and type. And let's just bump this down a little bit. And there we go. So there's our finished chart. Now to preview what this looks like, we have a print preview button, which is quite useful. And let me move this over because it dropped on my other screen. And there you go. If you see, it's I'm showing 2 pages here, so that's why we have 2 pages. Okay. Then I believe we have covered most everything that I would like to cover. Let's go back to our slides. And let's see here. And take a look. Okay, so this pretty much looks like what we ended up with. Our, except my label was different, but our status, our counts with our point labels, and our banded and grouped table here. We already did that. Okay, as I promised, here is a query construction, a simple query, our select statement, then the where statement, where we had board name was our help desk, our date filter, and our close flag. This is more closely to what I actually did on this particular one, except again, I used the anonymous version of that. Now, let's take a quick look at our website. If you go to docs.connectsmart.com, you will come up with this page right here. And you can actually look in Getting Started. Pretty much everything I covered today will be in this Getting Started with the Snap Report Designer. And our webinar for today will be found in the training videos and recorded webinars. In this particular one right here, you'll find information on where to find your access credentials, a walkthrough of those pieces that I didn't show you, this part right here, and a pretty much quick run through of most of the items that I ran through today. Okay, so any questions? I'll open it for just a moment. Otherwise, thank you for joining our webinar for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to have you play around with the Snap Report Designer. It's nice, it's light, it's quick, and you should be able to get a lot of good information quickly from it.
Oh,
Okay.
looks like we've got a question. Give me just one moment. Okay, Gail. Looks like Bobby is asking, what's the difference between the Deluxe Designer and the Snap Report Designer?
Okay, that is a very good question. This is the Snap Designer is a light version. It is more WYSIWYG. It's more word oriented. If you're used to a full-fledged report writer like Crystal Reports or SSRS, the Deluxe is more like that. It's more powerful. You can do a lot more with your queries and your other features. So this is the more light version. The other is for the more power user. Hope that answers that question.
All right. Any other questions today?
One more note on that. If you request a report and our Pro Services does a report for you, normally it will be done in the Deluxe Report Writer just because it has more power to it and we can get more things accomplished through it.
Looks like that is all I see coming in right now, Gail. So I think we can go ahead and wrap up unless somebody gives us another question. Can they not hear me? Gail?
Okay, well, thank you very much. And if you do come up with questions later, you can always email them to support@connectsmart.com. Thank you and good night.
You want me to end it?